Can we talk about Tuffy's passing, Tuffy getting sick?
Tuffy getting sick?
Or his passing. How did he?
Oh, he, of course, being he was older, and he was a big fella. And he had a lot of problems anyway. He had some heart problems, blood pressure problems, diabetes. Um, and then he got COVID. And he refused to get the vaccine. And when he got COVID, he refused to go and see anybody and get treated. He wouldn't be tested, nothing. And we just kept seeing him decline and decline. And finally, we ended up having to take him to the hospital. We had to call an ambulance to get him to the hospital. And they had him in intensive care for 2 weeks. He had it really bad. And they really weren't expecting him to come through. But he had a turn for the better. And he got through it. And afterwards, he just never really got up to full again. And that was one summer that he had it. And then about a year later, we started to see some decline. And COVID has this thing called the long haulers syndrome. And that's pretty much what he had. It had gotten better, but had taken its toll on his body, and he just kind of declined and declined from there. He just got really weak and wouldn't eat. He lost a lot of weight. It was and again, he refused to go to the doctor about it. He was very stubborn about that. He hated doctors. He hated going. So, and then fortunately, I hate to put it fortunately, but because we were considering some assisted living for him, which wouldn't have gone well. And then he just passed in his sleep one night. So, yeah, God's merciful. He is. He knew what we could handle and what Tuffy could handle, so he just said, "Come on home." So you hate those things to happen, but in a lot of cases, it's really for the best for everybody. So,
Was it unexpected?
yeah, very unexpected. None of us thought that it would happen, but he'd had some heart problems, and they didn't do an autopsy because it was pretty obvious what had happened. He had just declined so much. But they attributed it to a pulmonary embolism. So, that's something that you just don't see coming.
What year was that?
That was in 22. Yeah. Oh, thank you. It was hard being a surprise. You don't expect it to happen, and it's hard at first, but then, looking back, you realize that it couldn't have been better. I mean, I think that's the best gift God can give us, is to take us in our sleep like that. I mean, go to sleep at night and wake up in heaven. Nothing better. Nothing better. That's the best we can pray for. So that's the way I hope I go.
How old was Tuffy at the time?
He was 69. Yeah. And that was the same age his dad was when he passed. So I really expected him to go quite a bit longer, but that COVID, it just really took its toll. So I hate that. Oh, I hate COVID. Have you ever had it?
I did have COVID once, yes.
It's awful.
It's rough. Yeah. Even on a younger person, younger body.
Yeah.
Tell me about the funeral, the community response.
Well, after he passed, we got in touch with a lot of people that had known him, and they all said, well, let us know when the service was. And Tuffy had always said, don't bury him, do a cremation. So we did that. And I told you that, the story about his finding his urn. Did I tell you about that? Okay, so Tuffy, we had up here at Langsford, we had him up there, and so they asked us to find an urn. And they took us in and they showed us their room that has all these fancy urns, and none of them spoke to us. None of them ever said anything like, this is for him. And Molly was there, and she said, I have a friend who they put her dad's ashes in a Jack Daniels bottle. And the guy there at Langsford said, oh, we have people that bring in things that were special to their individual that we use. And Tuffy he always carried, he had this huge Quick Trip mug. And it was a signature mug for him. He always carried this Quick Trip mug, always. And at night, he would, before anybody, before he was left up by himself, he would always say, ice my mug, please. He just had to have his ice water all the time. So, of course, that's what we chose for his urn, was his Quick Trip mug. So we got that, we got a brass plate on it, and I've still got it out here. But anyway, so we had a cremation, and we were thinking about having a memorial service for him at a church. And we had so many people that said they wanted to come that we were wondering how big a church. And then we just thought, let's just do a memorial presentation. So Jesse knew the man that owned the Uptown Theater at the time. And so we contacted him and we rented the theater. And we, because it was going to be doable. And we just thought, let's just do a tribute memorial to Tuffy. And so we were able to get in touch with a lot of our old band members, and they put together like a show. And we did a gospel section, because Tuffy did a lot of gospel music. So we had one of our friends who's a minister. He headed that up, and he did a gospel segment. And then we had the country segment. And we had a lot of our former band members. I mean, we had one fly in from Arizona, and just a lot of people that were local. And we didn't have to contact them. They contacted us asking if they could be a part of it, which was, so nice of them. And then we got in touch with a lot of the artists that we had at the Opry, asking them if they would mind sending us a video about Tuffy, if they had time. And quite a few of them did. We had several. Really, we had Barbara Fairchild, we had Bill Anderson, and I love Bill Anderson. We had one of his good friend. He's not a national friend. His name is Mike Miowski. And then, of course, Garth sent one too. We had several others that sent us videos. And my son put together this amazing video. Have you seen it?
I've seen clips, so I saw Garth's clip.
Yeah. Of different things, from Tuffy. So it turned out to be a fantastic thing. They put his picture up on the electronic lighting thing on the Uptown Theater. So it was a really good tribute to him, and it was packed. It was packed. So it turned out really good. Tuffy would have loved it, being better than just a little funeral, But it really, it was good for all of us. It was good closure to have him perform one more time make me cry.
How was that time for you? I'm sure it wasn't easy.
It was hard, you know. It was hard missing him, but again, it was also the excitement of being able to have him perform again, you know, getting the videos together and you know, making all the plans and doing it for him. It was very rewarding, and I felt like I was, you know, letting him know how much he had meant to all of us. So it was great. You know, it couldn't have been better. I think he would have liked it. So, and a lot of the people that I hadn't seen for years that had been to the Opry were there, and it was just so good to see so many of them. Had one kid come all the way from San Salvador because he had known us back then, and so he said, "I can't miss this." So it meant a lot to all of us. So it was good. I miss him. I do. I can't say I don't miss him. And the kids all the time say how much they miss him. They're all wanting. I don't know if you guys have heard, but they do what they call memorial tattoos, where they'll take some of the ashes and put it in the ink and do a tattoo. And the kids all want to get, he had a signature logo that had his hand on a keyboard, and it says Tuffy underneath it. And the kids all want to get a memorial tattoo of that logo, all of us at the same time. So the problem is getting everybody all together at the same time. But that's what they want. That's how much they miss their dad. So
How did that logo come about?
it came out before I even knew him. He had a friend. He played all around town in piano lounges at restaurants. And he had one couple that would come out all the time to see him wherever he was. And she was an artist. And she presented it to him one time. She just said, "Here, I drew a picture of your hand on a keyboard." And it looked, I mean, he had a very distinctive hand because he was a big fella and he had these great big hands, you know, and for him to play on that piano. But so she did it, and he said, "That's my logo from now on." And it was, I mean, it was on his, we used to have t-shirts with it on there, and it was on his business cards. And have you ever seen it?
I'm not sure if
I
it
should
came up
show
in
it
any
to
of
you.
our,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll show it to you. I think I've got some of his business cards still. So.
Okay. How, obviously you said it was hard on the kids.
Oh yeah, it still is. Yeah, we have people all the time. I get Facebook messages all the time from people that you know, are asking, "How are you doing? You know, is the family okay?" You know, and they say how much they miss him. So it's, and I keep in contact with a lot of them because I don't want to lose contact with a lot of these people. So I'll message them, and it's good to know that people cared so much about him, you know. And this whole thing is just so good to know that he meant something, and that he what he did was important. So I thank all of you very much for doing this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Do people ever mention the Opry to you these days in passing? Do you find yourself thinking about it?
Especially out in Inglewood, of course, in Inglewood. You know, before Jesse was out there, we hardly ever went out there. You know, we didn't have a reason to. And every now and then, like I said, on Facebook, I'd get a message from somebody. But ever since she's been in Inglewood, you know, people, like I told you the other day, you know, the Forgy family, Harold came in and was talking about Tuffy and the Opry and how much it had changed his life. And we get a lot of people that come in, mostly now at the shop. People will come in and say, oh, my parents used to go there because, you know, my parents went there when they were kids. That makes me feel ancient. But that's, you know, that's good to know that they knew. So the word has passed down that, you know, that it used to be a good place to go. And that we had a lot of the big names, you know, we had some of the bigger names in country music. So it was good. You know, I listened to Sirius XM radio, and they have Willie's Roadhouse on there. That is a lot of the older country artists, and it's so fun because I'll be listening to that, and I'll think, oh, we had that person. Oh, we had that person. Oh yeah, I remember watching them sing that song. You know, so it's like the majority of them that are on Willie's Roadhouse, we had at one time or another.
So when Jessie set up her store in Inglewood, was that an intentional choice that she wanted to be in Inglewood, or did it just work out that way?
No, actually, we had kind of eyed a spot out in Blue Springs. You know, we were looking for a good retail place that had reasonable rent because she was just starting. And we had gotten a quote of $3,500 a month for a retail spot in Blue Springs. And so we kind of had decided on that. And we were just driving around one day. She said, what's going on in Inglewood? Let's just go look at Inglewood. So we went and drove down the street, and there was a sign on the spot that said for rent. And we thought, oh, well, let's just go find out about it. So we went up, the property manager's office is just up the street there. And we stopped in there, and they said, well, that they had somebody that was interested in it, but that it was still available. And we asked them how much the rent was, and we just about died. The rent's only $900 a month for a retail spot. Don't tell anybody. But of course, you know, we said, absolutely, you know, this is perfect here. And when they found out what kind of a shop it was, they were real hesitant. They said, well, we're going to have to check with the business association. We're going to have to check with of course, the landlord to see how they feel about that and all that. And everybody was so excited about us opening that shop there. So, I mean, it all just fell into place. And of course, it's right across the street there. So full circle, back in Inglewood. It's just like going home. It's so much fun to go over there because I see all these places, and I have a lot of memories over there, a lot of memories.
What do you feel like you want the legacy of your time in Inglewood to be, or the Opry, your family's time?
Well, I want it to, first of all, I want Tuffy to be remembered for what he did there. And then I just want people to remember that it was a good place to enjoy good music and have a good time. And that families could come, and that Jessie now is trying to carry on that same thing to make it her business to provide the same type of an atmosphere for her customers there in Inglewood. And I want to see Inglewood grow and be remembered as a part of that thriving area. So that would be the best to have, especially to have Tuffy remembered, and to have people remember that it was a fun place to go.
Okay. Well, Karen, that's the end of my questions. Are there any stories or other aspects of the Opry that you wanted to share that we didn't touch on, or anything that we didn't talk about you think it's important to include?
Not much. I mean, I'm sure I've got a lot more stories, but I think you pretty well hit the nail on the head as far as getting all the information and all the stories. And again, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I hope that down the road people will maybe be able to see some of this, and it'll spark some memories for them and make them happy. So, okay.
Patrick, you got any questions? Anything we haven't
I do.
touched?
Just
Oh,
maybe a
never
couple.
mind.
Going way back again, you mentioned that this was a lot of that was Tuffy's dream. What can I ask? Like, what was your dream growing up? What would you have wanted to do instead if you got to go with the dream that you had growing up?
Well, having been a pharmacist, my main thing was I wanted to, of course, get married, have kids, raise a family, and have a pharmacy career. I always loved music, and I always loved theater and performing, that type of thing. But I realized that that was not going to be a part of my future, because I had gone into the medical field, and that, do that as a hobby, maybe. And then Tuffy came along, and, it all changed. Pharmacy became the secondary, and the music business and the performing became the primary, which, plus I got an awesome husband out of it and a great family. So all my dreams came true. It was hard work, but I got to live out my dreams. Can't ask for anything better.
And then just kind of one other question. You touched on a lot of this in different ways, but raising a family, being the musicians and traveling and running the venue, what was life like raising a family out away from that? For your kids, were they just like the most popular kids in the neighborhood, or what were some of the cool things or challenges maybe that you think your kids experienced, or maybe they relate to you later on as adults?
Positives or negatives of that kind of a childhood?
Probably for the kids, the biggest difference was the fact that Tuffy insisted on homeschooling. Back in the 80s, homeschooling was just becoming a new thing. They had decided that kids didn't have to go to school as long as everything was kosher and they were being educated at home. So Tuffy wanted to be able to, if somebody called us and said, "Can you do a show this weekend for us?" He wanted to be able to just pack up and go and not have to worry about taking the kids out of school, then making up all the schoolwork, all that. So we homeschooled. I fought him on that because I knew it would be, that had to get all of that taken care of. And I said, when we started out, I said, okay, we'll try it. It will fail, and they will go to school. Well, it was successful. They did well. They did. I found a really good curriculum, and they got their work done, most of them. My son, he hated it. He didn't like school, and I had to really push him. But the other two that I homeschooled, they did really well. And it was more flexible. So they didn't have school friends. and they didn't have school activities. They had plenty of other activities, but they didn't have, all the school things that they had to get done. So it was, it had its benefits, but it had its drawbacks. And that's probably the biggest thing with the kids. Plus, their dad insisted that they start helping with the family businesses at a very young age. I mean, just like back in the old days, the farm stuff, they'd bring the kids in and get them. Well, he got them involved early. He'd have them help us pick up trash at the Opry. As soon as they were able to, they could help out. He expected them to help out. So they all learned a good work ethic from their dad that, everybody has to chip in and help. So that was a good thing. Whereas a lot of kids, at that age, they just want to concentrate on their schoolwork. Well, the kids had to help out with all the other stuff. Plus, again, like I said, Tuffy was a master manipulator. Anything he could train the kids how to do was one less thing that he would have to do himself. So he was not a dummy.
So it wasn't just the year you were traveling with the family band, you homeschooled the whole time?
Homeschooled them, yeah. The youngest, the oldest three, I homeschooled them from, day one to graduation.
How'd you do that while also working full time?
Yeah. And helping at the Opry. Yeah, and keeping house. So it was, I was busy. I was exhausted a lot. But again, the kids helped. They knew that they had to help out. So it was a team effort. They got me through it. So
so I think my last question is that maybe it looks like you have some grandkids. Do they play music, or have they gotten into? Do they listen to any of the old country music, or?
Yeah, my grandson Vincent he's big on music right now. He's doing music production. He's 17, and he is at the point that my son Ash is at. He's learned so fast, and he picked up instruments, and he's a natural. He's really, that's what he's wanting to do, is he wants to produce music, which is a good thing. My other grandkids, not so much.
How many do you have?
I have 7. Yeah. So, and I hope that's plenty. Christmas is already big enough. But no, the others aren't really that interested. And country music, not at all. My daughter Molly loves country music. She's a huge Dolly Parton fan. But not the others are not that big on music, which is surprising, because you never know what kind of talent they may have inherited. They just are not that interested. I bought my grandson Jude a guitar last year, and I told him I'd help him learn. It's easy. You could do it. I was your age when I picked it up. He never opened it. I sold it on Facebook Marketplace.
That's great.
Are any of the grandkids old enough? Did they have a pretty good relationship with Tuffy? Did they get to know him as a musician, or?
Not as a musician, no. No, they weren't real fond of their grandfather. Yeah, he was pretty gruff sometimes. He was demanding. As he got older, he got demanding. He got to where he couldn't get up and move around very much. So they knew that if they were around him, he'd be asking them all the time, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? So they kind of tried to avoid being around him. And, they loved him. They did, but they just didn't really want to hang around him very much, which was, sad. But they didn't see him as he really was. They saw him, in his hard time. So, but I've got great grandkids. I do. I miss them. I wish they all lived here in town. I've only got 2 here.
I hope, especially the one who does music. I hope they can kind of discover that family legacy.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. We gave him Tuffy's guitar when Tuffy was not able to play the piano as much. I bought him a really nice guitar, a Paul Reed Smith, and so he tried to take lessons. It was so funny because we had a really good friend who was a guitar teacher, and Tuffy decided he wanted to go ahead and take the lessons since he had a nice guitar. And I was trying to get Tuffy to do something other than, because in his last years, he would sit on his computer all day long. And I wanted him to do something else. So that's why I bought him the guitar. Well, he decided he wanted to take guitar lessons, but he didn't want to just do it. He made all of us take guitar lessons. So we all had to go for about a year every week and take a guitar lesson from this good friend of ours, which was okay because Molly learned how to play there. Jessie took the lessons and she didn't even learn. But so when Tuffy passed away, we just put his guitar away. And now Vincent needed a guitar, so we gave him Tuffy's guitar. So hopefully that'll pass down some of the music. But it's good to see him getting involved in music. So funny, Jessie is so funny because I'm a huge Van Gogh fan, Vincent Van Gogh. So she named her first son Vincent because I love Van Gogh, and she named her second son Jude because I love the Beatles. So she didn't name any of her kids after me, but she named them after my passions, which is okay.
Final thoughts, Patrick?
Sorry, one very last question. Wait, is there any new music that you've liked that you've taken to lately?
Well,
or what was the last new artist you heard that
yeah.
you really liked? Or...
Wow. I'm trying to think. I'm so into old music. I love Taylor Swift. She's good. Everybody loves Taylor Swift.
New album comes out today or tomorrow.
Yeah. New album. Now I listen to a lot of independent, and I don't really know their names, but lately I've been more into like the rhythm and blues type stuff. I have a friend that is a jazz guitarist, and so I've been going and listening to their stuff, and I like local artists. The new stuff is so different from what I'm used to hearing, I do have to say I'm a Lady Gaga fan. I love Lady Gaga. I went to Miami in September with Molly and saw her. But then again, the reason I like her is because she does the jazz and piano stuff that she did with Tony Bennett. I love that. She's so good at that. So again, it's back to the old stuff. But that's pretty much what I listen to. And I wait for Paul to put out new albums.
How do you see the live music scene locally here compared to what it was when you all were?
Well, it's thriving. Country music, not so much. They still have the country music shows, like Big Creek down in Pleasant Hill is still operating every Saturday, which is such a good thing. I'm so glad they are. And there's, every now and then they'll have other venues that pop up to do country music. But there's a lot of good young artists out there that, you never know. You never know what you're going to hear. I like the old stuff, but I like the new ones too, because they have such, so much, they learn so much so young now. you know, all this high-tech stuff, you know, they can do their recordings in their bedrooms, which is amazing. And it's just so good to see kids enjoy the music. You know, that people, I don't know how people live without it. I don't. My life has to have background music. I have to, when I'm at work, I have to have my music on all the time. I love Sirius XM because they have a Beatles channel too.